historically, short selling has been frowned upon, especially during financial crisis. During the Great Depression, Herbert Hoover publicised that short sellers were conspiring against the markets and proceeded to prohibit short selling. Most people's hatred towards short sellers, especially during these tough economic times, stems from the fact that they make money while others are losing money under financial stress. Did the banks help stem the declines? Did those bans help stem the declines?
No, I think they're totally counterproductive. I think it just panicked everybody, and the smart money was able to get round it anyway. So I think it was completely crazy and did no good at all, banning short selling of financial stocks. The clever money got round it by various ways that are too boring to go into here, but there were ways round it. And it just panicked people. I think it made anybody holding themselves. You saw the massive volatility then. And I think it was a ridiculous measure. I mean, I would add, which I do agree with, that the Americans are much more sophisticated than us on short selling. And they have a rule that you can only short on an uptick, i.e., or they used to have a rule, I'm not sure whether they still do, but I think in principle I can absolutely agree with the fact that America, because it's far more sophisticated financial system, far more people are retail clients, and everybody has stock on margin, i.e. they borrow money to buy stock, which I think is fair enough. And I totally agree that it will be totally unfair for a large liquid institution to force a stock down simply to trigger margin calls, so that the retail customer is then sold out of his position through no fault of his own, because somebody with a lot more money than him is just crushing the stock, and then forcing, a vicious circle of the brokers then selling him out because he hasn't got the margin. Now the uptick rule was brought in to prevent that, and I think that's absolutely justified. And I think, shorting a company in order to destroy the share price, in order to flush out investors on margin calls, is not. I don't think it's a good thing. I certainly wouldn't get involved in that. And leaving moral questions aside, I don't think it's productive, because if it's a decent company, it'll always end up hurting the shorter, unless he's looking for a very, very short-term trade, which I'm not into that. But I would have no problem with legislation in this country, for instance, saying you can only short on an uptick. For instance, I'm short of Afrin. A lot of people think I'm completely crazy. There are a lot of people saying Myers is going to do his proverbials on being short Afrin. So it's a willing market. We'll see who's right. I think I'm right. But I'm not trying to force the price down and ruin lives and make people miserable. It's a free market. And there are plenty of people opposed to that trade on the other side of me saying, shorters burn, they're going to be wrong. Well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.